Hello, this is Travis and Samantha, and they've agreed to make this little video giving you, my students now, some advice on how to pass this course. So both of them, Travis, I would go with you first.
Okay.
I know you work a lot, many long hours. Are you taking any other classes now?
No, I do one class at a time.
But how many hours do you work a week?
40 hours a week.
40 hours a week.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've done really well. And I know one thing that's really helped, you've come to every class. You sat up front and you contributed to class a lot. But what is some of the things you would suggest to some of the students to pass this A&P class?
I mean, just like with everything else, you just have to make sure you pay attention. The study guides that he gives you, whether it be the lecture PowerPoint or the lab study slides, make sure you just look over those, because the labs are specifically based off the lab study slides. If you study those, you should be fine. Make sure you ask questions if you have questions. Don't goof off in class. Just make sure you're paying attention, do your work. And the lecture questions don't directly come from the lecture study slides themselves, but that'll give you a really good idea of how to answer the lecture test questions, because it's like the same questions, just worded differently. So just pay attention.
How did you study? What was mainly your study techniques?
The lab study slides. For the lab quizzes, the lab study slides, I would just go in there and look at the pictures and then look at our lab sheet that we had and say, oh, that's that, and just kind of match up. I'm a what's the word? Like image-based learner. So I just make sure I relate what was on the paper to what was on the images on my laptop, and I'd say, oh, that's that, and then I'd go back through without my paper and try to remember the answers. Stuff like that.
What about for the physiology part, the lecture?
The lecture portion. Yeah, the lecture portion is a little different because there wasn't as many, per se, images, because it's not lab-based, it's more lecture-based. But go through the lecture PowerPoint as I had my lecture sheet in front of me. And sometimes I would cover up my answer as I was going through the lecture PowerPoint and say, what's this question? And try to answer it before I revealed my own answer and say, oh, that's kind of the same thing, or that's not, that's the wrong thing, or it's actually this, or oh, I got it right. Stuff like that.
Okay. Do the analogies help?
Oh, absolutely.
They do. Okay.
Yeah, I like the analogies because that's just one way I learn things too.
Okay.
They help indeed.
All right. Well, add some stuff if you want to when after Samantha goes here. So Samantha, you have a child.
Yes.
You live, you know, what, 30, 40 minutes away?
An hour and 20 minutes.
Hour and 20 minutes. You came to every class, I think.
Yep.
You know, and participated. Also sat up front. Not everybody can sit up front, but what would be some of your advice? Because you've done well too on how to pass the class.
I mean, definitely try to come to every class because it's just really important to soak up the information. I also watch and listen to all of the narrated lectures. I learn best by listening. Like when I hear something, especially because you repeat yourself, that really helps. If I hear it over and over again, it just starts to sink in. The lab study slides help as well. And getting involved with the analogies helps it to be more interactive. That helps understanding more of the material kind of because you're like actually a piece of the learning material. Just studying the lab, the sheets that we do, the worksheets, and all of the pictures, just going through them and labeling them yourself, and maybe doing it a couple different times, like getting a couple of the handouts of the same thing. Every time we have a worksheet, I have one for class and then one for home. So I fill it out as we're going through class, then I go through and try to rewrite it and go through it again at home, just so it's neater and so I make sure I understand all the concepts. And yeah, just making sure you stay through the lab. I was fortunate enough, my lab partner is a lot of fun to work with, so when we're going through and doing everything with the skeletons and all of the pieces like this, we're just really good at kind of going through and talking about them, each piece of it, and labeling them and stuff.
How did you find the time to, do a lot of this studying after class?
I get a lot of it done at night after my daughter falls asleep. And yeah, I usually stay up till 12 or 1 with my homework stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, the narrated lectures, like I said, are the most helpful. Like the fact that those are so like compacted, but there's just so much in them. Those help a lot.
Did you usually listen to them before or after class or both? Before a lesson.
So like when I first started, I was actually getting a lot of them done before the class, and like about halfway through the semester, I would do it after the class, because I like learning it here first and then kind of going back over it, and that just kind of like enforces my understanding of everything.
Travis, you didn't really listen to the narrated lectures?
Certain portions, like where I felt like I didn't understand the material in class, the lecture in class, I would go back and listen to it again. But if it was a concept that I definitely understood that I didn't really need, I didn't go back and listen to it, if I was honest. I only listened to about 5, maybe 4 or 5 of the narrated lectures over the course of the semester. But YouTube videos definitely help whenever we're in the lab portion of the class.
You mean the YouTubes that I put where I went through the models? Okay.
Those help me every lab. I make sure you listen to every one of those labs. But the narrated lecture's not as really as much.
Just the concepts you needed more help understanding.
It's just that, like she was saying, that reinforcing factor of, oh, I heard it once in class, I hear it again, and then you studied again. That's already 3 times if you just study it once. Right. But if you study it, 2 or 3 times before the test, that's 5 or 6 times. And then you're good. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate both your class participation as well, because it makes it more interesting, I think, for other students when people participate, and also it makes it more fun for me too. So I appreciate everything you guys have done. Do you want say any final pieces of advice for future students?
Don't goof off. Use your time wisely.
Yeah, your class time, I always tell, is valuable. Whatever you can pick up in here, even if it's a little thing, and this is the only place you get the hands-on. Yeah. I mean, they do have models over library, but
and you're right.
You're paying for this time too. What's that?
You're right here to answer our questions. Like sometimes when you Google things, you get 150 different answers for it. But like you're right here to like directly like link us to what we need to know.
Final pieces of advice from you?
No, I think she said just use your class time.
If you have questions, write them down and then ask them after class. Pull the teacher, professor aside and ask them. Make sure you get your answers.
Just don't goof off. You're paying for the class. You're paying for the class. So just make sure you use it while you're here.
Do you have a motto or anything?
A motto?
Yeah.
Seize the day.
Seize the day.
Carpe diem.
I don't really have a motto, but that's a good one.
Could you say one more thing, Travis, about, because I know you like related everything to something that you really do. Like you've related all the muscles to volleyball. So,
you got to find something. A good memory tool is finding something that you like. Like for me, whenever we're going over muscles and we were talking about a lot of the sensory receptors, I immediately said, oh, whenever the volleyball hits my arm, there's a shallow and a deep receptor, and then that's one way I remember those two off the bat immediately. It was just like, oh, that makes sense. And then you have to relate it to something you like, otherwise you're not going to remember it.
Yeah.
At least to be honest, long enough for the test.
And even with the skin, you related everything about the skin
too. Pretty much, again, like I related everything to volleyball because I love volleyball. I like playing volleyball. It's my favorite thing to do. But if you like cars, if you like
sing a song,
shopping, singing,
make a rap it out.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I do. I make up little songs in my head.
You made up any anatomy songs?
I don't know. Sometimes I go. I'll have to write one down and I'll.
Okay, I would like that.
Take advantage of the bonus points too.
Okay.
Oh yeah, scoop them all up as many as you can.
Okay.
There's enough there to make sure that you get bonus points.
Yeah.
Hey, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
All right.